a woman, preferably his woman, actually losing themselves in the moment, like Eminem said.
Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Yeah, told him I'ma hit it out of stance. I deserve another 100 bands. I deserve another 100 fans.
Welcome to another episode of the Married Game Podcast, where the voice you trust when it comes to lust. We are who you hire when she lacks desire.
Desire.
And there was a time in the beginning when all this activity, to me, was sinning.
Oh, that's
and
perfect.
Now we're sharing it with the world because in truth, it's actually winning.
You're good at that. You're so good at that.
All right, here we go. Hey, so this is going to be an interesting one. First of all, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I say that every podcast, but it's your effort should go noticed. And I like your hat. And a lot of other things about you.
He likes you.
I like you too. Yeah. So here we go. You said your hat likes me.
Yeah.
Well,
He likes you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So.
Well, I just want to say I'm excited for this one.
Why?
Well, when we were prepping on what we're to talk about together, we talk about shit talking is our love language.
Yes.
But this one is going to feel like that for me.
Okay. Good.
So it feels really good.
So you're excited to make fun of me today.
Oh, so excited.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're gonna do, gang. We're gonna kind of pull back the curtain, maybe go back a little bit in time, and ask ourselves a few questions that maybe you've asked yourself as you've been listening to our podcast. And it's real simple. Jesse, you sound like you got something you're about ready to say. Your mouth keeps opening. What are you gonna say?
Oh, I just want everyone to know that this podcast is for the men. How, sometimes when we talk to men, they're like, you don't understand. And we're like, okay, like, of course we understand. And you have had so many different lives and situations that you've been in. Like, you really understand. And I want everyone to know, like, you've been in that position, like how relatable you are. And that's what this is for.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm so curious and non-judgmental of when men come to me with their problems is because I do remember what it was like to struggle with a lot of the same problems. And being that I have been 16 years removed from not knowing how to talk with women, and we're going to get into that. Like, I had zero game. I was married as a virgin.
At 18.
At 18 years old, grew up thinking and being told I was ugly. Then getting a divorce.
But 3 kids, boom, boom, boom.
3 kids, starting a church, being an actual pastor of a church, memorizing chunks and chunks of the Bible, having a very interesting view about sex and marriage and relationships. And frankly, I believed everything to a T that every guy that comes to us struggles with. I tried all the solutions. None of them really worked. You didn't even know me back when I had no game, like literally knew nothing. There was things I had no idea. Nope. I struggled with sexuality, or with our sex game not with sexuality. I've always been attracted to tits and ass, you know what I mean? But back when I was a pastor, even our sex life struggled, and I didn't know what to do. And I would read books, and it's just this thing that I so understand because I've messed up so much and just had no idea. And it's to look back at how quote unquote dumb I was is embarrassing. Not in the fact that hey, nobody came out of the womb Michael Jordan and understood all this stuff.
Right.
But the stuff I used to believe, I go, oh, well, no wonder I had those results. And so that belief created behaviors, and those behaviors that I look back now and go, oh, man, what a journey it has been. But there's particular stories that are fun that we can really dive into and make fun of me on. And maybe more than anything, have you guys understand that even though you're seeing the end of the 16-year journey, like the end of the journey.
Why 16 year?
Because
that's what it was until you met me.
No, that was, so I'm 45.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 29,
mm-hmm.
I met a bartender that was extremely attractive, and her best friend was even more attractive. They were both like bombshells. And I was hanging out with a buddy of mine. He used to play in the NFL, and he had a really good game. And I knew nothing, like literally nothing. And this girl started to show interest in me, but I was clueless to it. And ended up becoming like friends with her on Facebook, and then sent a message to her, basically saying like, hey, I think we like each other. We should have sex or something like that. Like, dude, like just knew nothing.
Yeah.
And then I went back into the bar to see her, and she basically was like, you have no idea how this game works, do you? And it was so crushing, because I was like, here I am thinking I'm a good dude. You know, I've raised 3 kids. I'm an industrious dude. I had started my real estate investing business, started making some dough, and kind of came to that point in my life where I realized, dude, I got married really young, and then I got married at 18. So here now,
A virgin,
18.
Yep. It's a big deal.
Talk about that.
Well, like, I love your story. I love her again. But I want to even start earlier.
You want to start earlier? Okay.
Well, I'm so interested in that story because I ask you questions. You're like, I don't know. I'm so different now. Like, it's hard to put yourself back in there.
Very hard.
Your life. You can do it for the men, and you can feel what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
But when you repeat back, I'm like, well, how did your sex go? Like, I want to know those things just because.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't good, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, what's interesting is when, you know, that was a piece of my life where I was like, you know, as a kid, I've told this story before, but this will give you the basis of like what I fundamentally thought as a 14, 15-year-old boy on that curve right there by Coastal Kitchen.
Wow.
I was in Aaron Hughes' dad's Bronco. His name was Tom Hughes, and he would let us look at pornographic magazines. And we were the kids that would hold the centerfolds up and put them up to the window when we were driving by, and make other cars look at them. We were just kids, you know. Mm-hmm. And I remember making that turn, going, how do I have sex with one of these ladies? And not only how do I have sex with one, how could I marry one of these gals? Mm-hmm. And when I say one of these, I'm like, that look like that is objectively like something that turns me on physically, mm-hmm. right? And I thought, if I get a gal like this, that looks like this, the gal that every guy's like, yeah, I'm definitely jerking off to her, or man, I want to have sex with her. Mm-hmm. If I could get her to marry me, so I had like my best friend who we just got to have sex all the time, and I just surf. I would be in my mind, that was billionaire status. That mm-hmm. was the richest a guy could ever be. Like, what would you need more than that?
It's so crazy that we just live right down the street now.
Yeah.
And you feel like you have that now.
I do have that now.
But how did you lose that?
Okay, so I'm 14, 15 years old, thinking that's it, like that's the holy grail, and there might be guys listening and go, that's not really much of a holy grail. What, for me at 14, 15 years old,
that's all you're thinking about.
That was it, dude. Yeah. I was like, that sounds like a good time. Mm-hmm. Like, not only a good time, a great time. That sounds like the best time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure like every other 14, 15 year old is jerking off 2 times a day or more, because that's all you're thinking about. That's all it's going through your brain. And then I became like a born again. Not like a born again. I was totally born again.
But why?
Christian religion. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
Because of
why'd you feel the need to do that?
Because of how I was raised. Mm-hmm. Even though my parent, like, you wouldn't look at them and go like, that's a good Christian family. Mm-mm. It's the only Christian family it's the only one I grew up in. So it was kind of like this. They told me, you know what I mean? You know, if you kind of mess up, you're going to hell. So I had this really interesting view of hell and sex.
So you just believed what they said?
Yeah, most kids do. Mm. Most kids do. So yeah, I did. I believed what they said. I thought I was going to go to hell, so I needed to repent and turn my life over to Jesus, which I did. And after about 3 or 4 years of being indoctrinated into this group, which, read the Bible, believed that every single thing written in that book is God's word, like there's no contradictions, nothing's wrong with it. It's perfect. Jesus is this and all this stuff, right? And so I just bought into it. And because I wanted to be a leader, I became a pastor. And I picked a gal that I thought would be a good pastor's wife, even though I was not physically attracted to her. There was not at any point me being physically attracted to her. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. The whole thing sounds crazy to me.
She has a boyfriend now and has had plenty of boyfriends.
No, she's lovely. She's a really nice person.
That people, they like her and they're attracted to her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bummer that I probably... It was just, we were young and dumb.
Sure.
And no fault of hers. It was just, I was young and dumb.
And full of cum.
Young, dumb, and full of cum. So there's probably, I know there's guys that come into married game. They're like, I got married really young too. And because of the fear of if you get a divorce, what could happen and how bad you look at like inside the church and other Christians and those type of people, that what they think of you. I'm watching guys that are in their late 30s and early 40s go, I don't know how to admit this to you, but I done did fucked up. Like I made a mistake 20 years ago, and I've got a gal that it would be great to have sex, but if I'm being honest, I don't even want to have sex with her. And that was kind of where I was at in my relationship. I feel bad. I don't want to I'm not making fun of her. That's the mother of my children, or at least 3 of the children. And it just, we were such a bad fit. And I have like no ill will towards her whatsoever. Like Good. Zero. My heart is like, well, good luck to you. Yeah. I wish you the best.
I've always accepted her, and her and I even hung out without you a bunch of times.
Yeah.
There was, times where, emotions got in the way.
I fundamentally disagree with her on her belief system about a lot of things.
Because it's still your old way of thinking.
What do you mean?
She still goes to church and still...
Not so much that. It's more like she leans more towards the victim side. Like she's a victim of life. And I don't. Like I'm none of those things. And so it's, we don't really communicate to this day just because...
You're so different.
And I'm really careful about who I spend my time with and give my attention to. And, there are certain people that meet the cut and there are people that don't. You know? So I had very interesting religious beliefs.
And you were with her for 12 years?
Yeah, about that. And doing the Lord's work. Like I was so sold out onto that like even before I met her, like I think from the age 16 to 17, I didn't even jerk off because I thought that would be a total sin. And I was, now what's interesting about this is I don't look at a lot of this as a waste, even though like I don't believe in that religion. I don't go to church. I'll never go to church. I'll never do those types of things. I still actually love reading the Bible. But what's interesting is it taught me a lot about like how to study, how to become a leader. What does it mean to like interact with people?
Yeah.
And I actually feel sorry for all the people that were under my care and leadership at that time.
Well, I even saw your book, your old Bible, and had like tons of notes and your writing. I was like, oh my God, that like you did live that life.
Yeah. Well,
and the only way it makes sense to me is that I know that you want to be a leader and like a strong man, and anywhere you go, you are. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me is you're like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to put my whole heart into it. That's just what you do. So that's how I can think about your old life.
It's crazy to think about because there's a lot of guys that come into our world and they had all the same beliefs I had. And it's like, oh shit, it took me a long time to unravel those beliefs that just didn't serve me. They didn't serve those around me. They didn't make me better. They didn't at all. And so my view of sex, my view that it was almost like there was this thing that was taught in the church, and it's still taught to this day because I hear it from Christian men like all the time. And we have a lot of Christian dudes and Mormon dudes that come into our world, and I actually like them a lot in one regard. They're principled men. Like I would not look at certain things because it would break my principle, and I'm like a pretty principled dude. Still am that way to this day, except now I've had a long enough to live and go, okay, well, what principles actually serve you, and which ones just restrict you for no reason, and where did those come from, and why are we listening to them? And it's fear based, and if you don't, and a lot of weird, interesting things. So one of the things was pornography's bad because it's not real. And so imagine growing up going, those images you've seen of women actually really enjoying sex? That's just fake. And then having a marriage that you lived in to where like, well, yeah, she's not acting, not regardless of if she looks like the guys or the gals in the videos. She's
not as into it.
Yeah.
Not the screaming and the moaning.
Yeah.
And the
so I'm like, okay.
Positions.
So then maybe it's not real.
Right.
And so if it's not real, then you just go, okay, well then I should just get that out of my head. Except every guy is like, dude, I really like watching a woman, preferably his woman, actually losing themselves in the moment, like Eminem said. You know what I mean? So actually porn is very real. It's so real. It's why men watch it. Most men, and it was just for me, like when I would go to porn, I'd be like, I just want to see what a woman looks like who's really enjoying herself, because this is a really enjoyable activity. Why aren't more people enjoying it? And so the 3 women I had sex with after my first wife all loved sex. Like, didn't like it. They fucking loved it.
So you're like, it's real.
And I was like, you really like this? They're like, oh, I need it every day. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Wow. I didn't think that was real. And then you realize it is real, and you go, well, maybe everything I've been taught and told is just bullshit. And all these insecurities that I've carried with me as being the chubby kid that actually couldn't get a girlfriend, had no idea when I was around pretty women, had no idea what to say, nervous as hell. My best friend who was like so good with women would be like, hey, just try this. And then I would say it and it would fall super flat because I wasn't congruent, I had no certainty. It was just me like, let me try a line. It would be like it'd be like you playing Monopoly and you go bingo, and you'd be like, dude, that's the wrong game. A game, but wrong game. So I was lost.
So go to the bartender situation when you said that you just threw out that line, and then you saw her and she was like,
okay, so all of this baggage. Oh, by the way, when I'm leaving the church, I'm being basically like, you lose your entire identity. And guys in the church know that when somebody leaves the church, all the church does, and maybe this isn't every church, but you all know it is.
But this is such a big point. I'm glad you remembered, is because a lot of men, sometimes when you catch them in this right after the church, they left their church, that's all they knew, are like, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
They don't know life. What is the meaning of life? Like they're just struggling so bad in that little spot.
Yeah, well, they're usually struggling in a lot of spots. But, but that particular spot becomes amplified because they're saying basically, I've been told this is wrong. And so much so to even lust after a woman with your eye, gouge your eye out.
Wow.
Dude, there would not be...
I love window shopping.
Yeah. There would be no man with any eyes.
I know, exactly.
Based from that rule.
Or women.
Every eye would be ripped out.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay...
You didn't even watch TV or movies.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm when I'm into something, I'm really like... And it wasn't because other people went. I was really believing that I'm doing this for a deity that's watching out for me and guiding my direction and not wanting to displease. I still have some of that. Like, I don't want to displease my creator. I just don't have to have a label that everybody else has because it had to come from this book. Like, that's all changed. So when you leave that identity, and everybody's talking shit on you. Like, not a little bit, but like everybody in your community.
That you know.
Everybody you know, your entire community is all going, oh, he's this and he's that.
A sinner.
He
He's
wasn't
going to
real.
hell.
He's a sinner. And
Gosh.
like, bro, I mean, like as much of the bad names they could call, they do it. Which I was like, okay. After a while, but at first, even if I was like, I don't care, you have no community. So you're like, well, what is this big role all about? What is actually going on out here? What do I want? Well, I want to have sex with women because that feels amazing. That urge never left. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to have sex with women, I want to have sex with the ones that are in the centerfolds. So when I met this bartender who was taking a liking to me and I had no idea what to do, so therefore I screwed everything up, when she told me in that bar, you really don't understand how this game works, do you? And it wasn't like, come here, let me show you, like you would have probably done.
Shut up. None of you are that much of an idiot.
It was like, hey, you're an idiot. Like you're an idiot. And it was at that moment where I was like, I'm not going to ever have that happen again. There's something going on here that I don't understand. And I had a friend who was in the NFL who was like, he goes, okay, listen, you botched this whole thing. Let me kind of show you what it is. And then that's when I started reading books and it became an obsession to how do I take this game to make it a reality.
And there you go, diving into something all in. Yeah.
Dude. Because I was like, I have a lot of years. This was when I was 28, 29, 30, somewhere right in there. I'm like, I have a ton of years left to have sex. And if I'm going to have sex with them, I'm not going to have sex with somebody I'm not attracted to. And I know what I want and I know what I like. And there's other dudes doing this. So I've always kind of had that, well, if that guy can do it, so can I mentality. And so painting this picture of how green I was, I couldn't have been any more green. To where people see us now 16 years later and they're like, in every situation, you know what to say. All the guys that like go, hey man, I'm in. I go, oh, here, say this, text this. Oh, here's what's actually happened. And it's usually the stuff the guys are never seeing, but it's always so clear to us. And so my first goal was like, I want to have sex with a centerfold in every major magazine within a year. And for one simple reason, well, that's what I want. Even though I felt guilty about it because I shouldn't want that.
So it was more about guilt. It wasn't like insecurity of you trying to prove to yourself
I'm sure
that you
there
can
was,
do that.
I'm sure there was tons of that.
All the 20s where you do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You missed that. And then so you had it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you felt like you had to like prove to your younger self?
I think it was more, honestly, I just think having sex with beautiful women is a status symbol in our society. Like that it, and I've lived that life. Meaning when men hear, they go, oh wow, he's had sex with hundreds of women and look at his wife. Clearly he knows what he's doing. It's a status symbol. It's like driving up in a Lamborghini. It's like, oh shit. You don't see men walking around with really beautiful women very often. It's way more rare. Kind of like when you don't see exotic cars or really well done, nice muscle cars that have been revamped. Like there's things in this life that are just like, that's different. And so I'm sure I know for a fact I had a gazillion insecurities.
Well, yeah, obviously, if you're trying to show off and have that status,
that's what it was
stems from an
for
insecurity.
me. Yeah, it totally did. But yet the problem was still very real. And that as a man, I wanted to be loved for who I was. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be desired. I wanted to enjoy the act of sex. Now, having been on this side of it, the things that these guys are filming, I'm not saying every woman isn't faking. I'm sure there are women faking it. Duh. But
just like at home too.
Yeah, there's people faking it at home. There's people faking it on camera. But women do act that way when they're happy. A well-pleased, a well-fucked woman does act that way. And there was almost like this piece of me that goes, I'm not going to settle for anything less. I was already insecure, like with my first wife, because she wasn't like in that great a shape. So when we go to the beach, she wouldn't like be clothed. And I'm like, God, can I get a girl that wants to wear a bikini and just run around and like be free in her bathing suit? Like that was the simplest thing for me. So when you and I were hanging out all the time and we were going to the beach all the time, I was like, it's so fun to just be with a girl that like loves herself enough to walk around in bikini. Like that's how simple it was for me. And then I'm working through all those insecurities. So my goal was centerfolds within a year, and I did that within a year. And it was very difficult. Like I would go up to approach women and I would get rejected. I'm like, okay, well that doesn't work. This rejected. I mean, do you imagine?
No, I can't because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I do the rejecting.
Well, for sure. But also you and I have been out in the 12 years that we've been around, and I don't get rejected by hardly anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just us being together, us having women don't be like, no. I had this one girl.
They all want to come hang out and sit and
because
we're fun.
They're like, what the hell is going on over here?
Yeah.
This is exciting. And then you've got all these psychological things like pre-selection. If you're my wife, then I must be a pretty cool dude because they go, well, there's a pretty woman. She's actually seems to be having a lot of fun with this guy. What the fuck is his story? So I had to learn the psychology of this. Just because I didn't know it didn't mean it wasn't true. And so a lot of guys, when they come into married game, they'll be like, how do I not know this stuff? I go, regardless if you know it or not, it's still true. The psychology of your woman is still this way, regardless if you're ignorant to the fact that it is that way or not. And I was ignorant to all the ways. And so I would go through so much rejection, but it didn't matter to me because I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And I just was hell-bent on figuring it out.
I want everyone to know that I actually like the fact that you've been with so many women. Because I know that you've had all your varieties and you still chose me. That I trump all of them.
Yeah.
I'm your game changer.
Yeah.
That sounds super conceited, but I love it. I love that.
Yeah, and there will be people that will watch this or listen to this and go, wow, good for her. Like, that's empowering. Good for them. They seem happy.
Yeah.
The other people will be like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And
I don't care.
But it's so good to be able to be free about that.
I also like the fact that you've learned the game. You learn the psychology. Because now you and me together, I can say something to you and you're like, oh yeah, like she's not feeling like this or that. So I feel like you understand me more when we talk.
Well, I do. I understand the female creature way better than I used to.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is going like, well, how do women think? She's not just a little man. She's a very different creature. And how do they work? How do they operate? How does it happen? Well, it took me a long time. I'd never paid for sex. I've still never paid for sex. And I hope
that continues.
Yeah, I hope that continues. I don't have any reason to.
Exactly.
So how bad I was at this is the understatement of the century. And even guys, our one-on-one clients, when I'm going out with them and showing them, hey, here's how, understand the context of how everything's working. They're like, how do you know all this? I go, I've been out here doing this 1,000 times more than you. And so the temptation is to look at somebody and go, well, they're just natural, so it's just Keith has it.
Yeah, it is.
They look at our life and go, they live in a cool spot, they drive cool things, they're cool people. Wow, they're fucking cool. Wouldn't it be great to be cool? And that would be missing the point. It'd be like, no, this was something that has been built over 16 years you would not have looked at it 16 years ago and go, wow, that's fucking cool. You'd be like, hey, whatever. Like it was nothing remarkable about the situation. In fact, it was a dude getting a divorce because he's like, I was just thinking at the time, I don't know that I believe any of this stuff anymore. I don't know that the fruit of what I was sold on this marketing campaign and plan, I don't think it's really what these people are saying. And so when you shift your entire identity around how everything works, and then you go, well, what do I actually want in my life? I want this. It's the same time when I said, well, I don't want to be broke and poor. I don't want to work for somebody. I want to have abundance. If all these other people can win at the game of life, why can't I win at the game of life? So I just started asking myself, how do I win at the game of life in each area? No idea no idea that we would be teaching this one day. No idea that I would learn game to get the love of my life and then not know actual long-term game. Like getting a woman to sleep with me and be like, hey, that sounds like a fun idea. Let's go get naked. That wasn't, it was very hard to do.
At times you would say that. At times you would say that like, oh, I can just go get anyone. I'm like, fucking go ahead.
Yeah.
They're going to leave your ass too.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't care.
You know, that reminds me of something that we tell guys when they're trying to get their ex back. I go, I can help you get her back tomorrow. They go, oh, really? Man, they're like, help me end this pain. I go, the problem is if I get her back tomorrow, you won't be able to keep her again. And once she leaves the second time, it's pretty much fucking over. They're like, oh, why is that? I go, because you haven't changed. Mm-hmm. We can get her back. We can use the psychological triggers to get her back. Mm-hmm. Problem is when she comes back and realizes that it's the same life, she'll never come back again after that. Mm-hmm. So when you say that, when you go, well, yeah, shit, go get anybody you want, but once they get to know you, they're going to leave you. That's where I had to start to go, okay, because it was a big surprise. I'm like, I'm really good at getting women.
Yeah, everyone likes me.
Yeah.
Can't keep them.
But it's like, well, yeah, because I never tried to keep them before you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't interested. I was like, no, let's just have sex. Let's just have a good time. And yet then we learned. So that takes me all the way through my childhood to here, not knowing jack shit about jack shit, then realizing, nah, I want to have sex with beautiful women. I hired coaches. I read books. I was like, I got to learn this. This is learnable. Mm-hmm. And then you get all the results of everything that you're wanting. And then I realized, oh shit, there's another game. Mm-hmm. Getting on base is one thing. Actually running around the bases and scoring is an entirely different thing. Mm-hmm. And that's where I had to learn what long-term attraction really was. And I was so bad at that you literally left me. Yep. So like this is the episode about how bad Keith is at everything mm-hmm. until he determined, well, I'm going to just get good at it, and then just went all in it and figured out how to get good at it.
And we still work on things, and we still have to humble ourselves and work through things together and learn more about each other. And mm-hmm. we still do those things.
Absolutely.
And I love that though, because it keeps us growing and connected and together.
Yeah.
Going through those hard times, we learn another layer.
You know what
for
was really,
us.
you know what's interesting? I'm glad you said that. Back when I was learning game, and I was learning pickup artistry. I was learning how to be attractive. I was learning everything. Like, how do you text in a way that gets people intrigued? How do you it was just these seduction sequences, and I'm sure there was a part of it that was just 100% for me. Obviously, but all the girls I had sex with, we got along. Mm-hmm. Like girls don't have sex with guys if they don't get along. Like we had fun. I
met some of them.
Yeah, you did.
They're really nice ladies.
They are, and they're cool, and they're fun.
They were all pretty cool.
They're cool people.
And yes, I was jealous at times where I'm like, oh gosh, but they were really nice people, most of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was there some that weren't? You keep saying most of them. Was there one that you're like, fuck that bitch?
The ones that I met, I guess.
Okay. Anyway,
all the ones that I met, were really lovely.
Yeah, they're
and
good.
Fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
So it wasn't that I was this swarthy, said the right words at all the time. It was like it was an energy. Mm-hmm. Oh, this dude's fun.
Yeah,
he's comfortable in his skin. Mm-hmm. He's going somewhere, and he kind of has a no fucks given attitude.
So those are all the things that attracted me to you.
Yes.
Those things.
In the short term.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those were all things I learned. Had you met me?
Nope. I already know that answer. And no, I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have.
I would not have.
This is why.
And I was in a real empowering state at that time.
Yeah.
I just would not. Yeah. And I was talking to some other guys and whatever.
Come on.
I was, remember?
I do remember.
You remember?
I'm messing with you.
That was my first real single time.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that, I always tell the guys in Married Game, your life doesn't depend on this. Like, it isn't life or death, but your quality of life does. So there I was married to somebody I wasn't physically attracted to, in a religion that I no longer believed. And I had that honest question, is like, what do I really want? Like, what? I've been given this beautiful gift of life. What do I really want? And because I took action to learn the process, the science, and then the artistic representation of this science through game, through who I was as a human being, my quality of life is exceedingly different now. Mm-hmm. The guys who come into married game who go, I don't know shit about shit, and for some reason my wife thinks I'm horrible, and they learn the actual skill, their quality of life changes entirely. And what it feels like is I had to go on this big, long-ass journey, blindfolded, had no idea where I was going, bumping along everything along the way, and I was not who I am today. I was not even who you met. There was just...
No, you're very different from the guy I met.
I know what I'm saying, but the guy you met... way before them, he had no idea how any of this worked. And what's crazy to me is if you go walk down the street and you look around, what do you see? People, men and women hanging out every day, all day. It's all men and women think about. Mm-hmm. And yet, so few men actually understand anything about how male-female attraction actually works. Isn't that bizarre?
Yes, it is.
How can this thing be? And so what happens, in my opinion, you see a lot of men and women that get together that, I don't know if they're into each other. They're just, I think they both, there's like this attitude of like, well, it's the first person that would, get naked with me. Yeah. So I was like, well,
so I'm
shit.
here. I'm
so
just doing it.
Here we are. And
yeah.
Next thing you know, we had 2 kids, and now we can't stand each other, and we hate each other, and we can't get a divorce because this book that says we're not supposed to, and we don't know who decided how that book is the book, but apparently it's the book, and if you break that book, you got all sorts of fucking hell to pay. And so you have all of these things leading down the line where a man feels trapped. I felt trapped. Radically trapped.
It'd be awesome to have a little side program for young men looking, for their wife, because you're like, no, red flag, don't do that. Do you actually like her? Do you, all the little things?
Oh man, I tell my nephews all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, get this shit straight.
And your boys are older and they haven't settled down.
No.
Because I think they saw you and they're like, what? I don't want kids and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying right there. Mm-hmm. So this has been a humbling journey. This has been a hard journey. It's been a journey of self-reflection. I'd say the biggest piece of it all that blocked everything is when I finally was like, dude, I love me. And if you don't like me, there must be something wrong with you. And that sounds really egotistical almost, but it's not. It's when when somebody really loves themselves, they just go, hey, I know who I am. Mm-hmm. If I was single again for some reason, if you died, yeah, and or you just decided to check out of life and go, hey, fuck life, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though, is that hurdle to get over, like not liking yourself and not being comfortable in your own skin and not becoming the most attractive version of you, like all these principles were because of what I had to put in place for me to actually be this. So if I was single again, I would go about it very differently. And I coach a lot of single guys now, and I'm not teaching them pickup artist lines. I'm not teaching them things to say necessarily. I'm teaching them a way of being.
An energy.
Mm-hmm. And because that's how it actually works. Mm-hmm. And so even now when I go out with dudes, or you and I go out, we talk with women, we talk with, we love flirting, and my game is so on point right now that it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's because I have you. Mm-hmm. And I understand how important it is to have game and to be flirty and to stay on the cutting edge of this. And I think really the purpose of us going to all the depths of the details of like these silly stories was for guys to realize, hey, guess what? Nobody was born with this. The only people that are good at this actually had to learn it and go through it. And the cool thing is we get to save a lot of these people time. Like
a lot of bumps in the road.
Our one-on-one clients come in and like, I'm struggling with this, this, and this. I go, oh, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, all that will be eliminated forever. And they're like, we can do that? Yeah. That's one of my favorite things is when guys go, wait, we can do that? Wait, we can do that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like is your duty and requirement to do that from here on out. Mm-hmm. So what else? Any other questions? You're good at picking apart what's going on. But we've been talking about a lot about this lately, that it's so crazy to look back. But it's easy, even for us, to think, well, I've known this stuff for so long that everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. Or when you were a version of yourself and you've spent 16 years running from that version, going, I don't want to be anything like that. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be all these things. You almost start to despise it. And it's actually the only way to run away from it, I think, is by you despise it so much. You're like, fuck that guy. I'm never being that guy again. And then almost forgetting, because you have such an identity shift, you actually forget that you were that guy. Yeah. And that guy never comes out of me anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't slip into him. He's dead and gone and so far along. But yet,
I actually don't even think that's who you are. Because you were saying you at 15, you were, you wanted the fun wife and to have fun and to surf. So I think you actually are that person, and not something, but the church got a hold of you, and that's not you.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a different ideology led me down a different path.
And you found your way back to your path.
I found my way back to my path.
Mm-hmm. But you learned a lot.
It's the it's called it's like the reluctant hero. He goes in this dark cave because he's got this problem. He ends up meeting somebody to help him. For me, it was many mentors. It was many books. It was many guides to then emerge from that cave as like the guy that's like, hey, you're not going to believe what I discovered. And I think like in the spirit of what this episode is, the things that I discovered was, oh shit, this is a learnable skill. I didn't grow up thinking that. I grew up just thinking you're either good with women or you're not. And then I'd being a guy who was horrible with women to then becoming great with women, I go, oh, here's the lessons. Ding, 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 ding. So as much as people might look at us now and go, it's just two cool people that have always been that way, it wasn't that. Mm-mm. It wasn't that. It was a guy filled with a lot of insecurities trying to figure this thing out. And it's why I'm so certain about everything we talk about now. Why if somebody disagrees with me, I go, hey, God bless you. Like, I won't even argue it. It's nothing to even argue. It's like, well, show me your fruit.
And all that hard work landed me.
It still does.
Yep.
All that hard work still lands you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool.
Me too.
I think it's really cool. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to dive into or say?
No, just love you.
Yeah, I love you. And
it's been a crazy, crazy journey.
It has been. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that we get to share it with people.
I know, right?
And the people that we really, like the people, the guys that we resonate the most with are guys, and probably the guys that resonate the most with us are probably guys like me. You've never wanted to be mediocre. You didn't grow up going, I'm normal. You grew up, being a stud in whatever you like. I was never not cool. You know what I mean? But I was horrible with women.
Until you got married.
Well,
then you were not cool.
But in my community, I was cool.
Yeah.
But in other community,
yeah.
If you and I looked at me back then, now we go.
I saw pictures of you, I don't know, flip-flops, cargo pants,
dude,
big.
we have, where are those?
We got to pull them up.
We got to pull these up.
I know where they're
and post.
at.
Oh, shit, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Have them. Your dad gave me a whole bunch of pictures of you.
Oh, shit.
Ridiculous.
Let's do it. It'll be probably more embarrassing for you than me because I know I'm not that guy anymore.
It might be. It might be.
It's who I was.
Yeah.
But that's the human journey.
Yeah.
Is we're all growing, and we're all learning stuff, and we're all saying, you know, the guys that watch this that resonate with us are probably like, yeah, you know, I don't want to be mediocre. And we have a really high standard to get into married game nowadays. I mean, you've got to be an entrepreneur. You've got to, or at least be in, you have to kill what you eat is what you kill. You're a producer. You have a producer vibe to you.
You care about your body and your health and your fitness.
And it seems like a lot of the guys that have come in lately are of the mentality where, and you guys know who you are. You're saying, I'm not going to settle for anything other than elite. You know, they go, well, I don't want to be broke, so they go start a business, or they get into sales and they go, I'm going to fix the money game. And they start to have abundance in that. And they even start to feel wanted in their career. And then they come home and they go, wow, this is torturous. Like, this lady doesn't even like me. When I touch her, she cringes and pulls away. I feel no affection, no love. We don't snuggle on the couch anymore. Everything just seems to be like a robotic move. Mm-hmm. Whereas last night, did you make me quesadillas last night? Mm-hmm. You make me these quesadillas, you bring them over. You're like,
and then you rub my feet.
And then I rub your feet. Like, we're just, it can be, marital bliss can be bliss, but nobody showed me the way when I was back there. I read books, his needs, her needs. I'm trying to convince my ex-wife, like, isn't sex amazing? And it's like, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. And you just don't, it's like, fuck, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And,
so 12 years of that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
What a wild ride.
It's almost unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So that's why we spent this episode explaining to you how far me as a man has come, because some of you guys, I know, because you say it and I hear it, and even the guys that come into married game, because I share a lot of these types of stories and a lot of the insecurities that I went through inside of our program and inside our coaching, because a guy will bring it up and I'm like, oh, I understand what you're going through. Let me tell you what happened to me. When I did this, that same thing happened. This is what I used to think. This is how I think now. But we're starting to share a little bit more of that on here so that you guys can understand that this is a game you can learn, and you can actually learn it really quickly. And some of you guys might be fresh going through divorce and you're like, I have no idea how to get back out there. We've been getting a lot of those guys lately.
That's so fun.
And we just take the word married out of the equation and we just teach you game. We just teach you game. And I don't know why every man wouldn't want to know this, and why every man wouldn't want to be elite at understanding, because it drives
every man within his marriage to every man.
Every man. Mm-hmm. Every single dude that experiences this frustration, which there are a lot of dudes who experience this frustration, to just handle it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Well, have a good day, sweetie.
Well, and you do too. You do the same, my good love. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. It is learnable. You can go to marriedgame.com. If you are an entrepreneur, you are a producer, you are a guy who understands the money game. The reason I say that is because my mouth is dry. Is because thank you. Let me get on this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that fresh water. I like that. We work with dudes who figured out the money game. Why? Because our shit's expensive. Why? Because it's the best. There's just no other way to explain it. As a business owner, you're always finding out, who do you serve? Who are your people? Who do you resonate with, and who resonates with you? And we've just been finding a lot of guys that are like me who have been resonating lately, because we've just been being honest and staring straight who we are. We're business owners. We will not accept average in anything in our life. And if that's who you are and you're going, man, my marriage is not where I want it to be, you might be deep in the pit going, my wife doesn't like me in any way, shape, or form. Or you might be on your path to the peak where things are good, but you want him to be great. That's what this is all about. So with that being said, Jesse Joy, you're a dream. Pitch a cow. And with that being said, hey, don't be a nerd. Spread the word.
Just don't be a nerd.
Just don't be a nerd. Spread the word. Don't smell like a turd. Spread the word. Mm-hmm. Don't take all this in and not give it out. Share it with somebody. Say, hey, you know what? You look like you might be suffering from DDS. Why don't you give this thing a lesson? All right. That being said, keep crushing it. That shit is contagious.